Hello, this is Anabelle from Cradle of Filth, and you are watching RichardMetalFan.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of RichardMetalFan Interviews. This is episode number 22, and today's guest, we're talking with none other than the new keyboard player for Cradle of Filth, Anabelle. We're going to be talking about her joining the band, their upcoming album, which comes out October 22nd through Nuclear Blast Records, entitled Existence Is Futile, as well as their upcoming US tour, which starts at the beginning of October with Three Teeth and Once Human as well. So without further ado, let's go talk to Anabelle. So here I am with Anabelle Iratni. I hope I didn't butcher your last name.
That was perfect.
It was great. Okay, so new keyboard player from Cradle of Filth. Anabelle, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Alive and well. How are you?
Doing pretty well. It's a lovely afternoon here in Georgia, where I'm at in the U.S.
Very nice.
So yeah, so you're about to speak of the U.S. You're about to hit I think your first U.S. tour with Cradle of Filth next week. How excited are you? Looking forward to that?
I am pretty excited to finally be able to say we're going on tour. Feels really surreal, but really awesome as well to finally actually take this show on the road and see some fans and get on a plane. I'm a bit nervous. I've forgotten how to use airports, but
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're going to do this special tour where you're playing Cruelty and the Beast in its entirety. Where'd the idea of that come out? Because I know before you joined the band, they started doing that. And I was hoping, like, man, I really wish they would do it in the States. And well, now it's finally happening.
Say, be careful what you wish for. Maybe one too many people wished upon a black metal star that this would happen. Yeah, I think there was just a demand to do something a bit special, and it's such an iconic album, and the States seem to be really wanting this album to be on tour, and people feeling a bit left out that run had started over here, and they're like, what about us? We want this too. So here we are doing it due to popular demand.
And it's so awesome. So obviously, Lee, you weren't in the band when this album was released, but what I want to ask is, do you have like a certain memory when you first heard this album? Like take me back to like 1998. I mean, obviously I was 4 years old, so I wasn't into metal yet. So, but where were you when you first heard Cruelty and the Beast? Oh shit, we're about the same age.
We're the same age. 1994.
1994 too, but
yeah.
But I was born in March of that year.
Oh, I'm June.
Oh, so I'm older.
Wow. Very slightly.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying about the album. I got really excited about that.
Yeah, just like where were you when you first heard Cruelty and the Beast? Because that's probably my favorite Cradle of Filth album.
Where was I? What was I doing? Oh gosh. It's probably as lame as on Spotify going through going through the Cradle albums. That sounds so modern, doesn't it? Oh, it was on Spotify. On my free version of Spotify. It was I knew it in bits and pieces, but start to finish, actually not until recently, until seeing it at the Palladium in 2019. Had I actually sat and listened to it as like a piece start to finish. So even though I knew songs from it, hearing it in order, how it was meant to be experienced, actually came quite a lot later.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. And then let's just dive right into like the new music. So you got the new Cradle Filth album called Existence Is Futile, which comes out October 22nd through Nuclear Blast Records. Can you just tell me about like the whole writing and recording process and how that all came to be?
Yeah. So for me, I came into the band, gosh, I forget what year it is now, at the end of 2019. So I've been around a lot longer, lurking in the shadows than people realize. I mean, for everyone, I'm the new keyboardist. Well, yeah, I am the newest member. But due to lockdown and stuff, we couldn't have the announcement and we couldn't share that, couldn't get together. So when I came in at the end of 2019, most of the songs are sort of already there. But they were really receptive and said, please keep submitting more material. Like we want this to be the best album possible. We want your take on things. So we just continued writing. And I submitted material and was working with the guys to sort of refine keys on songs or to just completely write keys on tracks that were there. And things were constantly being refined and changed right up until it got shipped off at the end of last year, end of 2020. And yeah, the guys are really lovely about it, because the aim of the game is to always make the best piece of work that you can and do better than you did before. So submitting material that I did ended up being on the album, including songs which I feel really bad about, because a couple of songs got knocked off to make way for my ones, and I was like, I'm sorry, I feel really bad. But it was all good. It was all good. We obviously got a lot longer than a band would usually get to. They were a bit more flexible, like with recording. I went into the studio in July of 2020, and I think the drums had been done in March, so there was a bit of a gap. But obviously lockdowns caused some trouble with people trying to get to the studio. Yeah, it went on a lot longer than it usually does.
That's awesome. And so we got the 2 singles that are out now, Crawling King Chaos and Necromantic Fantasies. Does that represent what the entirety of Existence Is Futile is going to sound like, or is there just more to be discovered?
There's definitely so many different flavors in this new album, and I think that shows in the 2 tracks we've released so far just how different they are from each other. Because you've got Crawling King Chaos. I mean, the always red, hellish, really
video's
fast,
fucking sick.
chaotic. Yeah, it's so cool. I'm so glad. That was Vicente from Industrialism Films, and oh my gosh, we were so happy with how that turned out. And then, on the contrary, you've got Necromantic Fantasies, the blue, the romantic, more of a slower, like a gothic love ballad sort of thing. So they're very contrasting tracks, and I think that is something you can definitely expect from the album as a whole. It's sort of taking the best parts of Cradle and reinvigorating it into this new modern age.
Awesome. So this is also your first album with the band. How did you end up hooking up with the Cradle homies? Because of course you played with Danny in Devilment.
Yes. Yeah, so that was sort of the bridge between the 2 worlds there. I sort of knew the other guys before, like some of them met backstage at gigs. Hi, they knew who I was. And yeah, so working with Danny in Devilment, and then he knew my writing, he knew my voice, and I'd often send him some of my work, and he was really digging it, which is cool. And he actually wanted to do something separately with me at the time, because he was like, you're songwriting, you can write songs. And I was like, yeah. And as soon as that Cradle position opened up, I got a phone call from Danny Filth saying, I want you to audition. Like proper Uncle Sam poster style. I want you to.
I can imagine that.
Yeah. And I was like, obviously I said no, and no, I'm here. It was it was really surreal having Danny Filth call me going, I want you to audition. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so I did. And then 2 days before Christmas in 2019, so 23rd of December, I received this like massive bouquet of flowers, like really expensive. I googled it. They weren't cheap.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I know. Like purple lilies, like thistle wrapped in black, like this big gothic, beautiful bouquet. And there was a note in it saying, welcome to the fungal, like welcome to Cradle of Filth. So that was really special. That was a really special moment. They could have just called me and been like, yep, you're in. But they made a experience.
Just a big ol'.
Yeah. Aw, thanks, guys. Got flowers. That's nice.
Awesome. And then when you first joined with Cradle of Filth, did you look at like past albums like Cruelty and the Beast, Midia, and Amphetamine and be like, this is what you need to do? Or did like Danny and the rest of the guys wanted you to bring your own mix to the band?
They definitely wanted my sort of flavor in there, because I mean, gosh, we're the same age, so
Yeah.
there's been so many
Yeah.
eras of
I honestly
Cradle.
thought you would have been older than me.
It happens all. People assume I'm either old or younger. Never bang on.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm surprised.
I feel old. Like I'm on the wrinkle cream and everything.
Yeah, I feel old too. My back hurts sometimes, so
Same. I actually did get a massage earlier for my back because I was like, it hurts so much. Yeah, 27 going on 87.
wow.
Yeah, but yeah. So I made sure to listen to all the albums, which isn't exactly an overnight thing because there's a lot of them. So some before we were even born,
Yeah.
or just starting to walk. So I made sure to like immerse myself into like the sound world. Lockdown was at the time, so I couldn't go to the gym or anything. So I just walked around the garden in my leggings with the albums on in my ear. And so I was familiar with the sort of sound, but they're always wanting to, like the producer, Scott Atkins, is always encouraging us to tread new ground, not do what we did on the last album, to bring something new and fresh to the table, to boldly go where no Cradle album has gone before. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of room for me to add my sort of flair in there.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I could hear my sister squeaking.
Oh wow.
She's singing in the shower. I'm so sorry. That's really weird.
Yeah, it's all good. But then going back to the new album, Existence Is Futile, was there like a preconceived idea to what it would sound like, or was there a lot of like improvisation and trial and error along the way?
Yeah, I think there wasn't like a definite we're going to make it sound like this. We just very much went with the flow and built on ideas and just see where it sort of took us. It wasn't as much of a we are going to write for this theme and we are going to do it like this. It very much just ended up being a very sort of individual expression with all of us going, oh yeah, this sounds cool, and then spinning it out from there.
Yeah. Awesome. So then you also play, like I mentioned, you played with Devilment. Is there like a different like mind frame depending on like the process, like how you have to play with this band versus that band?
Yeah, there's definitely a different. I remember writing for Devilment, it was things like don't use any church organs or harpsichords in this. Don't use those, 'cause that's a very Cradle thing. So there's always tried to be that sort of separation there. I mean, like branding, marketing, industry stuff, like to differentiate them. So there's definitely more of that sort of like gothic, Victoriana, vampire orgy vibe in Cradle, which I think I'm much more suited to Cradle.
Yeah.
If anything, I think of all the bands I would be in, Cradle's probably the one I suit the most. So that all worked out in a really weird way.
All right. And also, as a keyboardist, which I think the keyboard is like a very melodic kind of instrument, do you need to like hear like the music and like what the guitars and like the drums are doing or by riff, or do you usually have like a keyboard line and then the rest of the band would write over them? Just how's like your role come in with like the songwriting and stuff?
Yeah, so sometimes I just write full sections with completely orchestrated or all the lines in, and I go, right, like this is sort of the foundation for my idea as a whole. Sort of go from there. So I would often write, yeah, quite orchestrated sections. Sometimes even guitar bits. On the beginning guitar bit of Us Dark Invincible, I wrote that and I find that hilarious that stayed. I'm like, I got a guitar part on a Cradle album. That's insane. Yeah, and some of them actually did end up like those sort of orchestral structures, because sometimes it'll just be like riffs or ideas or hooks that I throw out on the keys and the guys pick it up, or maybe there's something already written and I might write a counter melody and we sort of inspire each other. It's a really reciprocal relationship, which is really cool, that there's sort of the equality in those parts, that we are all at a level of skill and musicianship where we can go beyond just writing for our bit, where we can all flesh out big parts of songs. And there were bits that didn't get used. There are 3 instrumentals on this album that were written entirely by me, which is really cool for me to say, and a cool way to come into this band as well, that they trusted me enough to go, yeah, this is your skill set. Do you want to write? Do you want to go ahead and do instrumentals? And that inspired them, because they were like, oh, these would work more as instrumentals than songs. I was like, okay, let's do it, lads. Yeah.
And all right, and he kind of froze. Your camera froze for.
It's probably for the best. I mean.
All right, we'll just keep going. Okay, moving on.
All
we
okay?
got
Yeah.
like what? All right.
Technology.
All right. So is it also easier to like come up with ideas when you're with the bandmates, or do you need to like do some stuff by yourself?
Yeah, we sort of all go into our corners a bit and write ourselves anyway. That's sort of how they do it. And we were forced to do that on this one because of we were all in lockdown when we were writing. It was really weird. We hadn't been in the room together as a band until the live stream in May this year. And I was like, I've just written an album with you guys.
Great live stream.
Oh, you saw it.
Yeah, it was a great way to see you finally play.
Yeah, well, thank you. I was glad to finally be there.
Yeah.
Because the goalposts had kept changing at that point. First I was going to be announced in May 2020, and then tours kept getting pushed back, and no one's fault. It's just the way the world is. And so I didn't fully believe it when it happened, the live stream. I was like, oh, it's not going to happen. Walked up on stage and I'm like, something's going to go wrong. And then it was over and I was like, oh, okay, this did just happen. So yeah, it was very much more of we were all writing on and sending things via Dropbox and via email, sometimes the odd video call. It was a very different dynamic to get used to, but I guess a very modern age one. A lot of bands sort of write over Dropbox and email these days, like cool kids.
Yeah, all right. And when playing live, is there like a similar or different like energy, or is it kind of just the same as it is on the record?
There's definitely, I feel, more drive live, and there's a lot more like freedom of like expression live. Like you can really get into it, and it's because there's the aesthetic value there as well of the being able to physically perform, and people experience a visual side along with just a audio experience. And yeah, there's definitely a more of a raw, obviously more of a real, because we're standing there, feeling to it all. I think it adds it definitely sounds different live, and as well you can hear things with like a different clarity, or maybe things you didn't hear before, like, oh, okay, so that's what the keys are doing there. Oh, okay, so that's what the bassist is doing. And hey, not to mention, you can have like a cheeky look and be like, okay, how is he playing that? Right, okay, take notes.
All right, and of course now you're able to see you again. The camera's back, so great. All right, so yeah, I managed to fix that. But yeah, but anyway, next question. Like, I'm pretty sure we're way early to ask this, but with you in the band now, does like Cradle of Filth have like new ideas for like the future? I feel like this album, or just the first 2 singles that we've heard so far, I feel like it just opened up many doors.
I mean, I hope so. That would be nice.
Yeah,
that's very nice to hear. Thank you.
Awesome. Sure.
Yeah, there are no plans, but I think it's definitely, there's no way to say it without making myself sound like an arsehole. Like, it's definitely a bringing back that sort of very English. I mean, it doesn't escape many people that I sound very English, and
I mean, that's a fact, no denying that.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate fact. So sort of, and that big mezzo soprano operatic voice, sort of bringing back that era of Cradle that people really did love, and most people, people are like, oh, the old days are better. The old days. You're always going to get those people. So I think there's going to be more opportunity. Like even on this album, I'm on every single track, or I'm involved in every single track on that album in some way. So yeah, hopefully, I mean, here comes being on national television.
All right. So, is there also like a technique in terms of like creativity when you were making this album, or something that you didn't know about yourself before that you could do?
I didn't know I could hold a really high note for 20 seconds. That happened on our Stark Invincible. That was very, very exhausting. But I'm glad I did it. I think I just learned I'm a little bit, nearly. I'm a little bit mad. I'm a bit eccentric. I didn't quite realize how much of like an eccentric composer I am. Like air conducting. And my fellow would just turn around and be like, "What are you doing?" And I was like mumbling furiously, going, the notes, And apparently in my sleep I do it. I just start like mumbling or singing something and then just shoot upright. So I've learned that I'm definitely crazier than I thought. Well, I knew I was a bit crazy, but I didn't realize it was like.
Hey, we all are.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. All right. So, you ready for the most difficult question of the interview?
I'm ready.
How do you know when a song is done?
Oh man. Years on, you still don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the most sort of basic answer is it gets taken away by the producer and he goes, "It's done, stop."
Yeah. That's like one of the best answers you get.
And that works because that's the only way we'd probably stop, is to have the producer go, "This is done."
Yeah.
Like this is like stop. Like, oh, because you can overwork on something and then you start to overthink it. Yeah, you sort of it's when you get to the point where you're so tired, you're like, yeah, this will do. You're like, yeah, this is there now. And everyone's happy. You're like, okay. You sort of like holding onto a ledge. You're like, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? Is something going to change? Is something going to change? But yeah, the most, when the producer just goes, "Yep, no more time, you're done."
Awesome. Awesome. So anyway, I got two more questions for you. Back to playing live, do you try to like stick to how the songs are played on the album, or do you try to like add like your own flavor or try to add different things to the old songs?
Yeah, a bit of both. I try to, so for each track I often create the patches on my keyboard for them. So I might like custom blend sounds or mix them together to create very specific patches that I think will go really well. Or I do the complete opposite and I go, I think this will sound really cool. That would amphetamine. I have like this fantasy patch that I use for the main theme. I'm like, yeah, that works. Yeah, that's all right. So it's definitely a bit of a both. And with the keys, I do sometimes get a bit widdly, especially at the ends. At Bloodstock Festival that we played in August, I was trying not to laugh on stage. At the end of Her Ghost in the Fog, I started like doing like these extra little key bits at the end, and then Danny Filth on the mic just went, "Anabelle, are you finished?"
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's cool. I think it adds your own personality in a way, and no matter what, like the singing and playing, it's all. Even though I'm playing Cradle of Filth songs, it's still coming through me as a vessel. So it's going to have my spin on it, whether I like it or not.
All right. And the final question I want to ask you is, I always think the UK has like a great metal scene, from the classics like Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Motorhead, to even like extreme stuff like Napalm Death and Bolt Thrower, and of course Cradle. Was there like a scene in the UK that you felt part of, or was the goal for just to get outside of the UK and just play in front of like different countries and different audiences?
I've always wanted to see everything, do everything, and tour, because I'm just like, I love life. I love traveling. I love meeting people, and I love experiencing different cultures, different places, different lives. And so I've known that's something I've always wanted to do. And yeah, it's a great scene in the UK. So I'm from London, the good old capital of England. mind. And I often found that even though, yeah, there's gigs all the time, I find it quite impersonal, like because it's such a big place. It's not like a small community. So you're always seeing different faces. And so there wasn't much of a familiarity or like a sort of, I'm going to go and see these same people, I'm going to meet up. It was very much, most of my teen years were like having my mom take me to metal gigs. Mostly because you had to have an adult if you were 40. If you're under 16, you had to have an adult with you.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
remember my
"What?"
first shows. I was like 14, and my dad took me to my first concert.
Yeah, it was nice. It was cool that my mom would do that, but like, she just kept embarrassing me. I was like, Mom, stop talking to the people in the queue. Like, Mom, can you not? She's like, oh, everyone's so nice. And I'm like, Mom, can you just, Mom, Mom?
It's awesome. So before we go, I just want to thank you for this interview. Is there just anything else with the release of Existence Is Futile that you would like to promote? And just knocking on wood that the US tour happens. I've already got my ticket and VIP for the Atlanta show. It's going to be awesome. Is just anything else you would like to promote?
Well, no, I can't wait to meet you, Richard. I'll make a note. You'll be at the Atlanta show. Okay.
Yeah.
You'll see me. Obviously, you'll see me. I'll be there. That was a silly thing.
Well, I hope so.
Oh, this will be awkward.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Just thank you for doing this interview, for your time and for writing the questions and for speaking with me. The honor is truly mine. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And get your hands on Existence Is Futile. Pre-orders are up. October 22nd is the date that it drops. And I mean, that's as close to Halloween as we can get it. So it's basically Metalhead Christmas. So, you know, Metalhead Christmas, new Cradle album. What's not to love?
Yeah, awesome. So everyone, Anabelle from Cradle of Filth, the new album Existence Is Futile coming out October 22nd. It's RichardMetalFan. We'll see you next time.
See you then. And I'll see you